Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Dianne Beattie. Dianne Beattie has a passion and love for technology. Her degree is marketing and management science. She is a tech guru that started in the U.S. Navy in SATCOM and grew into designing, architecting, and implementing intranet and internet-facing DMZ environments for banks, pioneering efforts in vulnerability management, process designs for large banking infrastructure using enterprise security methodologies. Today, Dianne brings the lessons learned to small and medium-sized businesses as a strategist. She was named the 7-minute strategist due to the many dozens of patents she gave to corporate environments. Now, Dianne refocuses this passion to create synergy and co-create online presence with entrepreneurs and business owners to systematize their offerings to create multiple streams of income. Welcome to the podcast, Dianne.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. This is an honor.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. And I know we're going to get into some really juicy topics here. So let's just start out with you telling us, who you are, where you kind of started out, and how you got to be doing what you're doing now.
Well, you pretty much read my whole bio there. So I started out at 20 in the Navy, which launched me into noticing that there were mysteries inside of me that I didn't know were there. I didn't know that, that I could spot anomalies until suddenly, somebody goes, "We've tried everybody. We're just going to ask you, can you figure out this problem? This is not working and we don't know how to fix it." And I would take a glance at it and I said, "Well, I think it's right there. Do you see this?" And they go, their eyes would get really big and they would go, "We've been looking at this. We've all been looking at this. How is it you just walk up and look at this and boom, you spot it?" I don't know. We don't know what it is inside of us that is so unique from everyone else. And so it's like a lifelong discovery. What is it that makes you special?
Yeah, awesome. So you started out in the Navy, and what made you decide to go into the Navy?
Well, my aunt worked in retail, and so she gave me part-time jobs growing, in my teenage years, and that kind of turned into I worked in retail through high school. I don't sit still well. I'm always busy doing something, and I just knew that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing that. And then a friend came to me and she goes, "You know what, Diane? I think I'm going to go join the Navy." And I went, "Where did that come from? Who thinks like this?" But she was afraid to drive down to downtown Dallas. And so I went, "Oh, well, to me, that's fun." So I like the one-way streets and figuring it out and keeping it straight. So I drove her to the meeting, and the recruiter was very wise. He says, "Why don't you just stay and listen?" So I did, which meant I went home and I said, "Mother, if you had the chance to live your life all over again, would you ever consider doing it differently? Would you ever consider something like joining the Navy?" And she looks at me and she goes, "Do it." I went, my mother shocked me. I went, "What do you mean, do it?" She goes, "Diane, right out of high school, then she went to college, she got married, she had babies. And she goes, "Is that what you want to do?" And I went, "No, it isn't what I want to do." She goes, "I would do it." So I went, "Okay, Daddy, I was thinking about joining the Navy. What do you think?" My dad was in the Army for 2 hitches and he said, "No, you're not doing that." So it started a big discussion in my family. And I ended up joining the Navy because, like my mother, a woman is kind of, her role is chosen for her in many respects. And I just didn't see myself doing life that way. And I chose the harder way. And in a way, I started praying about it. And I felt like the Lord said, "Do you want to go on an adventure with me?" And I went, "Yes, I do." And it was an adventure of discovering who I was, who he was, how to surrender my heart, my life, my ambitions, goals, dreams, desires, everything, and just get free and go and do what I felt like he wanted me to do. And so that's what happened.
Wow. So once you started on this adventure, what kind of adventures did you have when you got into the Navy? Any
Oh,
cool experiences you want to share?
well, yes, I became, besides the Navy and besides working in SATCOM, and um, interesting things happened. Like I got my PADI license. I became a scuba diver, and I did crazy things like a free ascent at 90 feet. And they
Uh-huh.
said, "Oh, well, you've been able to do this. You should be able to do it from 160 feet." And I went, "No,
No.
90 feet was good enough for me. I proved to myself that I'm not going to die and that I
Uh-huh.
can absolutely monitor my thinking, my mind, my breathing, or breathing out anyway. And I did it. I was so excited that I lived to talk about it. And this is in the ocean in Guam.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, there were sharks everywhere. And I just learned to kind of swim with the sharks and not let them bother me or interrupt me. Of course, none actually came right up on me during that free ascent. Might have been a different story,
Uh-huh.
but for both me and my instructor. But
Uh-huh.
no, I learned to control me and monitor my thinking and my breathing and my actions, reactions. I was taught a lot of things that you normally don't even think about in a
Mhm.
corporate world. Certainly, even in your thinking, your own thinking, turning off that noise and not listening to it.
Mhm. Yeah. So how has that helped you in the corporate environment, being able to actually regulate yourself? It's so important for us to be able to actually self-regulate, to be disciplined or to be, to actually be going in the direction you want to go.
Well, I will say that in corporate America, I, you know, I see what's missing. But like I saw the anomaly. I became like the anomaly that identifies anomalies. But I also noticed another side of me is I noticed gaps. I noticed what's missing. So I would go into these companies, and I just remember that for one, I built an accounting system for Bank One Chase. And then I started building intranets because it was starting to become a thing, and these companies did not know how to get their brand presence out. So they said, would you build the server to do this? And I went, absolutely. So I started building intranet servers, which led to me building one at Bank One. I built one at, I think it was Rap Collins, and learning other things and components of it. But the big opportunity that I was given was at Bank of America. So I built Bank of America's intranet, and I said, well, how big do you think this is going to be? And they said, oh, we expect maybe 1 or 2 servers by next year, next December, like a whole year away. Well, in 3 months, I had already built 20 of them, 20 servers, built all these different websites for them, got them up and running. And in the time frame that they expected me to have just built maybe 1 or 2, no more than 4, I had over 100, because when I started speaking out loud what people could do, the opportunities that they could have if they would just dream or release themselves, that it turned into a miraculous situation. So much so that when in 2 years, and I did this as a contractor, I wasn't an employee,
Mhm.
they offered me a position to build their DMZ. Their e-commerce, this is where the e-commerce online banking resides at a bank. It's not inside the bank and it's not outside on the internet. It's in a cushion called a demilitarized zone. It's a military term, which I understood,
Mhm.
but it's a cushion, a demilitarized zone between the inside of a company and the outside of a company. So
Mhm.
in this space where we all go on to do our online banking or bill pay or whatever we're doing in some of these other companies like Amazon, or that we go and purchase things, this is where the e-commerce takes place. So I built this infrastructure for them, and it wasn't just a little good. the first opportunity to build a site, within a year, it made $1 billion, which exposed me to working with monetary authorities like Hong Kong, Singapore, international monetary authorities to work on their encryption standards and go by their guidelines. But it was so much fun so that was the second department I built there. And then I built another for vulnerability management and the enterprise security framework. And my cybersecurity background, it just kind of exploded all over the place. And so I was a pioneer in a time when there was a lot to build. It didn't exist. So what I did is I brought all of those skills out of that corporate and into building for the small to medium-sized businesses. Since if you start building for the big boys, like this was a 1 million node network that I pretty much had the vulnerability management system that I monitored all around that. And going and building a small environment for a small company or even a medium size, I've worked with all size companies and I find it very fun. And being that 7-minute strategist, they bring me in and I say, tell me your problem. Tell me what you're experiencing. And so we just kind of take a deep dive into what they want to do. And I said, well, let me tell you a story about this client and what this client was facing. And because of their situation, which is similar to yours, I made the following suggestions. And, so everything is uniquely crafted. Every organization, every person, every one of us has a unique personality and offering a gift that we give to our clients. And so that's where the strategist comes into play and I'm able to help them.
Wow, that's awesome. So when you were talking about doing that deep dive, so how important is it for us to get up to our edge of our comfort zone and just kind of jump off?
Well, the wildest thing is people, they can have a minimal product offering. They don't have to have all of their ducks in a row. They just simply need to know, how to express what it is that they want to do. And so many of the clients that come to me, they say, I've got something of value, but I'm not able to attract anyone to it. And so I just talk to them. I talk to them. It's like, well, what value do you offer? How do you want to offer it? And we just get into those discussions of, let's talk about a sequence, a process flow. Let's talk about how you plan to nurture your clients, because many people are under the wrong impression that we're out here selling. And it's not about selling. It's about offering value and being a steward of those gifts that you might have, the gifts and the talents and the treasures that are within you. It's like the whole world is waiting for each of us to rise up and step into those places, that dream that we've always had, that's been with us for a long time. And what happens is, you're asked that question when you were a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then you grow up and you say, I don't know why I'm in the position I'm in. I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. It is not fulfilling me, but I just don't know how to step off and step into something new. Well, this is where I come in to help a lot of people. It's like, what do you want to really do? And so I can counsel them from that end. Or if they've come to me and they say, you know what, I've been in business for a while. This is my product offering. This is what I want to do, but I don't know how to brand myself well. And I teach them how to brand themselves, how to become their brand, no longer hiding behind a logo, to get in front of a camera and do what they've tried to avoid forever. Maybe they went to Toastmasters and maybe gave their icebreaker. And I can tell you that was me. That used to be me. Oh my goodness. It's like, don't tell me to get in front of a camera. And then I just heard this voice from behind me saying, flip that camera around and get in front of it. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. So, and now with the whole world shifting to Zoom, we're all on camera.
Yes.
We all have to give elevator speeches. We all have to talk about what we do. And you can either freeze up and be paralyzed, or you can say, I'm just going to overcome this. I'm going to get in front of that camera and I'm going to just do it.
Well, it's a good thing that people have you to hold their hand to try and get through this.
You're so funny.
Well, sometimes we need that. I know a lot of people, and I know I have coaches. I have a project manager now that helps me. Because some of us just need that hand holding, or someone who has been there, done that, knows what to do, and can, cut learning in half just by,
You know,
them knowing the road.
what you just said is exactly what we're all discovering. Those who just used this this whole new economy, I don't know what to call this, but this whole new era shift that we're in, those who really got out and got into networking and meeting other people and going online, they discovered a community. And
Mhm,
my dream is to pull together all of the components that it takes, all of the different businesses that it takes to absolutely take everyone's value and what's in them and get them pivoted and into a curved trajectory, to launch them into what I call their brand new day. And
mhm,
every one of us, we fit together like a glove. I mean, we're all uniquely gifted that if we
mhm,
could figure out how to work together, stay in our lane and only offer what it is we do and not try to force ourselves to do what somebody else is skilled to do, then
mhm,
and not be in competition with each other, but to realize that there is more than enough. God is a God of abundance. He is
mhm,
not a God of poverty. And I
mhm,
run into people who think they have to, you know, steal or something or not do it the right way. But my whole positioning, as I'm an inclusivity person, I want to include everybody. So if I can include all of my friends and making someone else's life, a potential client's life, perfect, and perfect is an illusion too, but
mhm,
put everything in alignment for them and make it simple. Actually, that's the word. As a strategist, I simplify the complicated. I
mhm,
bring in what it is, the tools that you need to make and accomplish the dreams and bring the value to you so that you can bring the value within you out for the world to find you.
mhm. And going back into that inclusivity and just community, how valuable are alliances with other, parallel businesses where, they're not really offering the same thing, but if you could put together a group of people all with their own things, but kind of offering it together as a group, how would that work?
It's interesting that you said that because of this year, I joined Master Networks and I have been on countless calls where there are so many web designers. And see, web design is where I started out in 97. I started my company as web design back in 97. But I do web design today, but that's not my primary focus. I do click funnels, I do drip marketing campaigns, I do teach people how to do their advertising and all kinds of webinars, online presence, seminars. I mean, it's just, what do you want to do? But
Mhm,
what I've discovered, to directly answer your question, is getting into the face to face with those who are in a similar, they say they do this. We look at each other and go, we could not be more different. We all
mhm,
focus on something that we're so uniquely gifted in. And
mhm,
so when somebody says, oh, I own this area, like this is mine, you said the wrong word in a meeting, I kind of go, well, tell me what it is that you do.
mhm,
And, don't take offense. We don't want to take offense with each other. What it is we want to get to know each other, exactly what you said,
mhm,
because what I do well, they may not do well. And what they do well, I may not do well.
mhm,
And there's always that room to grow. There's always this room for open, clear, concise communication, because communication is key to anything. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because the more we go to these networking meetings, obviously we're going to run into somebody who does the very same thing we do. And but by confronting that head on, I think we're going to eliminate the barriers that people just instantly want to build up. It's like, nope, that's mine. You can't have it. And it's like, well, tell me exactly what you do. And then you get on the call and they go, well, no, I'm really doing the branding
uh-huh,
or I'm doing the technical aspects behind all of this. And it's like, well, I do the click funnels. It's
mhm,
like, and we're, this is like we're missing each other, but we're saying the same words to describe what we do, but we're not doing the same things that someone hearing the message might think we're doing.
Exactly. And that's a time when you can actually refer to each other also.
Exactly.
I'm really into specialists. I mean, I think I'm a specialist in my area. And when I'm doing general optometry and someone comes in and they have a problem that's more advanced, I'm sending them to the specialist. And I think that helps the person or the client also, because who doesn't want to have the best person doing the thing they know the best?
That's exactly right. So I'm a social media strategist as well. I mean, that fits directly into the 7-minute strategist, but I'm that social media strategist that I help you think about what you want to do. I challenge you to step out of that fear, whatever it is that's holding you back. And I challenge people to do what they know they have to do. They know it deep inside. And it's like, I know this. You're going to make me do what I don't want to do. And I said, do you know what's on the other side of when you do this? You're
Yes.
going to find the true joy, and treasure and timelessness. And you're going to recover those things that you thought you lost. You're just going to step into a brand new day. And that's what I call it. It's your brand new day. Don't miss it. Don't fail to show up.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch topics for a second here because you sent me some questions, and one of them, e-commerce space is owned by the Chinese. Why don't you talk about that? I think people would be interested in knowing what you mean by that.
That's a very interesting question. I actually gave a top 2020 trends for 2020 back last December. And that was one of the things I said, does anyone in America even know what's going on in the e-com space today? Because really, we are all in it and we're not paying attention. And the obvious is, if you go take the measurements and statistics and percentages, the United States is lumped in with the rest of the world, and the Chinese have half of it. They have half of the e-commerce space, and it's easily confirmed and verifiable. And so one of my passions is to help businesses in America get their head wrapped around this. If we pull together and we respond and act like a corporate environment instead of, like you said, pitting against each other. Oh, this is my space. Oh, this is my space. That's going to keep us isolated. And we're going to, that companies can't work. If they can't work together, then, how are you going to survive? Because you need a team. We all need a team. We can't do this alone. We have to work together. And learning to communicate and overcome our differences is going to make us one big solid unit. And can you imagine, I think, 70% of America's economy is the small to medium-sized businesses. What if we learned a synergy to work together and even make that more solid and grow it even bigger and become what we were really meant to be?
Yeah, and that makes sense because I think any business, big or small, needs support. I mean, large companies do it by just hiring lots of people. But if we can just kind of get together and support each other. So if you have a weakness here, someone else can fill it, and you can fill theirs. And like you said, numbers are better. In fact, I'm being in the medical society. Doctors for the last 10 years have been coming into groups, big groups. It used to be you'd have your independent family doctor on the corner, in his little office, but no more. Now there's these big medical groups where all the doctors are joining. Why? So that the expenses go down, for one thing, because that's a huge thing right now where the expenses are so high to be an independent doctor. So they're coming into these groups, and you'll see that with many different medical areas. And if the rest of the world doing whatever they do would come into groups, they can combine their resources.
Exactly right. And because I'm a strategist, I've gone into different medical groups like you're talking about, and I talk to them about how they measure the success of the different doctors that they're working with within their own individual company.
Mm.
And what I've had them identify their key performance indicators to find out what is directly impacting the return on investment. So I can get to a lot of different levels within a organization's conversation to determine what are the best strategic steps for them to take. And when they look at the qualitative and the quantitative analysis for how well their organization is doing based on the analogy you presented here, I asked them, I said, so which doctors do you think are making you money? And they looked at me and they go, oh, it's got to be this doctor, this. And I said, and which ones do you think are costing you money? And so I've actually built these internal measurement analysis tools within their organization. And I always ask them these questions ahead of time because what invariably happens is that the doctors that they do so well with, that everything flows just really great, those doctors have no system in how they manage their clients internally, and they're not consistent in the way they do anything. That's why they're so accommodating. But when you go to the doctors that have a prescribed system, they're check, and how they manage their process flows internally, those doctors are saving them so much money, and they never knew it. They didn't know it until I brought it to their attention with the facts and the data to prove it. And it's this type of thing that a lot of companies just don't think about. It's how are you? And this gets into my management science, where I do a lot of measurements. And this is where I put it all together in what I offer clients without even thinking about it: the performance metrics, the performance monitoring, and who's making you money, who's not making you money, where are you wasting your time, where are you making your profitability, and how do you do this type of thing, because it's critical to our success.
It's just exciting hearing you talk about numbers. I can just tell you love looking at these numbers and stats and then seeing the anomalies, and you're just overflowing and glowing when you're talking about it. So it's just in you. It's just part of you.
It's the strategist. It just comes out. And it's like, what I've discovered is you could plug me in at 100,000 feet or ground zero within your organization. And it's like, what do you want to talk about today? And we can just start with where you are. And I don't know what makes me that way. I've never really been able to identify it, other than to say that each of us have mysteries that we're still discovering about ourselves. And what else? How else do you talk about it?
Yeah. So I'd like to talk now about ClickFunnels. Like, there's some business people who know all about ClickFunnels, but some people, they might have heard the word because, I mean, it's all over. Russell Brunson's got it all over the internet. But what is a ClickFunnel?
Well, I guess the simplest term to describe a ClickFunnel is, do you hire salespeople in your business? Do you need sales? Do you have to bring in clients? And many companies, especially entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or even small businesses, they've hired salesmen, or they themselves are doing the selling and the marketing, and they're wearing it's like, what hat of they've got all these hats, they're changing hats all the time. A ClickFunnel is like your salesman that's 24/7. He's right there, that when you talk about this, when you go into meetings, you say, oh, well, if you want to know more, click here and get, and then what happens is that becomes another way to call it. A ClickFunnel is like a landing page or a lead magnet, or there's all different terms for it. It's a funnel. And I show people how to become profitable with whatever they're selling, their products, their services, their courses, their books, by creating a funnel, and then creating a sequence of nurturing emails. And it's a drip marketing campaign, is the name we call it, but it's nurturing them. It's not just blasting them, buy my book or join my course, but it's really more along the line of slowly getting to know them getting to know you, building a reputation, and as someone that they can know, like, and trust. Today, people hold webinars to help expedite that that warm handshake, that introduction of themselves and their product and the value that they offer and the problems that they solve to clients. And many people are finding that the website, like the front door to an organization, and I put these on level playing fields because they think that that's all they had to do. They just had to hang the sign out, the shingle, hey, I'm open, and they would all come. And that is not the case.
No. You could sit there for a long time. I've opened businesses cold. You have to get out there and market, network, and say, hey, I'm here. Over here. Like the Who's. No. Anyway, we're here. So so now you're helping people with ClickFunnels, and you're still helping like with websites. And why don't you tell people the different things, different offerings that you have right now that you can help them with?
Well, you pretty well said it all. But I also help them shift their mind, because a lot of people are caught right now with thinking that they're paralyzed with nowhere to go. I help them recognize the value that's within them. Say, for instance, someone who was maybe just retired or forced into retirement or recently laid off, they were in that position that this employer paid them for, whether it was a short time or a very long time. They got hired because there was something in them that was valuable. Mm-hmm. Because no one has a job and not value. You just, you're not going to hire somebody that has no value. You're going to have someone that has a value that is strategic with what it is that you're offering. And so I am showing people how to take that value within them and flip it around into offering it to other people in the form of courses or writing that book or becoming a coach in that particular area to counsel and help people shift themselves. I know teachers that have taught for years and their skill is so valuable. And the courses that they taught, I think the kids today just don't get the same value from the school system because they're measured on these statistics that will never help them in their future. And we could get into education in America. And I'll just tell you a story. I had friends from Russia. They came and they went to school here. He moved his whole family here because he was in school getting his degree. And yet every summer they had to take the kids back to Russia. Why? Because they couldn't let their kids fall behind in school because the American school system was so antiquated and archaic compared to the other nations of the world. Mm-hmm. And I say the world because I can't imagine Russia having something so superior to the other world. And when you go check on the world statistics of where American education and graduates are falling in relation and in competition with all of the students in the world, because, we look at competition for our business. Let me tell you, every student that graduates college is measured against every other student academically. And if we can't raise the standard of our children and their future, they will not be able to compete on the world scale in a global marketplace, because we all see the writing on the wall. It is no longer just us. Like that American dream, it's really everyone has a dream. The whole world has a dream. And every student every child wants to dream. And we want to help them dream. And we want to make the world an equal playing field in the educational systems of the world. So my call is to the teachers of the world, come out, come back. Let's create that unique gift that you have, that you are so good at. You run what awards in your field for what it is you did. If I could challenge you to let's build courses, let's take your courses out to the world in the specific areas that you are so gifted in, you're so talented in. There's a dream that's inside of you that never got launched or unleashed or something, but we don't want you to go away. The whole world is waiting for your skill, for your gift, for your talents, for your dreams. And I have that passion for anyone in any industry that made them so highly unique and so highly skilled. We just can't lose that talent. We need to put it somewhere.
Beautiful. Thank you. And oh, that I just felt that in my heart when you were talking about it.
I
And
felt it
it
in
is
my
so
heart
true.
too.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody has something so unique to them. And it's something that when they don't share it, we all lose out. The world loses out. And when
The
you
whole
share it,
world.
we all get to enjoy it with you. So
But
just like,
yeah, to kind of answer that. So if you had, for instance, a course, I will build all the parts of the infrastructure for you, whether it begins at a website or and then goes to a funnel for each of those individual courses that goes into a nurturing campaign to tell everybody why this is so important to them, what problems it will solve, how it will change their life. I can build the backend infrastructure and make it an evergreen webinar. I can build the membership sites that will house all of the components and the structure of your courses. And it doesn't matter what it is that you need. I love technology. I love technology. You can tell it kind of burns within me. And my stretch goal for me is I want to get more into the performance marketing and the measurements and to make the marketing so strategic and so targeted and so focused that I help my clients exceed even the expectations they could ever have.
wonderful. So if people wanted to hire you to do all these things you're talking about, how do they find you?
Well, my main website is wewebdesigner.com. And I call it We Web Designer simply because it's you and me. It's a we. I do this with you. And the web is anything from websites to ClickFunnels to anything web or digital focused because I'm a digital agency. And so the wewebdesigner.com, you and I design your future, your life, your dream together.
Wonderful. Thank you. So just on a personal note, what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life?
I just had twin grandbabies. My son
Oh,
had twins,
congratulations.
and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And they're adorable. They're fraternal. They're not identical. And just watching the uniqueness of these babies, and oh, we're having so much fun. Our whole family so excited, very excited. And other excitements are to watch a client when all of a sudden they say, I can't do this. I cannot do, you just don't know me. I can't do this. And I said, but I challenge you. I challenge you. And you know, I'll give you two stories. One story is a client who came to me that very question. Oh, I can't do this. I said, but what you want is on the other side of it. I challenge you. Will you do this 30 days? Will you just go out there and go live on Facebook 30 days? And she goes, okay, I'm going to do it. Oh, okay, I'm going to do it. And I said, I'm praying for you. I know you can do it. You don't have to talk for a long time. You just have to go live. And she goes, okay, do you know, after the first day, she calls me and she goes, I had people join in with me. I had people responding right when I was talking. I had this happen. And I said, do it again tomorrow. So she did it. She did it. She did it. And I'm telling you, she is now not only the author of a book. I mean, she had already authored a book, but now she's teaching a whole network of authors to become authors. She has gone forward into all these speaking engagements and doing all these different things. She has such confidence. It changed her life. And she says, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Dianne. And it's just like, I look forward to that. That makes joy. That just makes me leap inside. And then another story I wanted to leave with you is this. For my first funnel that I did for a client was about 2 years ago. She came to me with a $97 product. And she says, I have going everywhere. I'm trying to market this and I'm just not being successful. I want a funnel. And I went, okay. So I created her funnel for $97. And do you know, within less than 3 months, she had 400x'd her sales. She goes, wow, okay, that's all I need. That's all I needed to know. This works. And then she comes back about, I guess it was about 8 or 9, 10 months later. She goes, my next funnel is for a $2,000 coaching that I'm doing as a result of her whole program and everything. And she goes, I need you to build this funnel for me. And I built the funnel for her. And it exploded her. Let's see, the first one took her into the 6 digits. This one is taking her into the mid to high 6 digits. And then she comes back later. Let's see, it was about, maybe it was 8 months later, 6, 7, 8 months later. And, in this whole 2-year time frame. And she says, now I want you to build me a funnel for $10,000 basic for my course. And then she goes, and then I have a VIP program for 20,000. And I went, wow, that's amazing. So I built this for her, and it's taken her 7 digits. It has taken her 7 digits, but hold on. She wasn't done yet. In September, she came and she said, now I need you to build my $100,000 funnel. I went, what?
Wow.
Said, and let me tell you, since September, she has 8 people in that program.
Wow. It's amazing.
8 people at $100,000. You see, we just don't know who we are. There is a mystery inside each and every one of us that if we will discover it and step beyond the fear of who we think we are. I mean, I coach clients to take those limitations off, break yourself free, take those chains and chop them off, smash them with a sledgehammer, tell yourself you can do this. And when you believe something, it comes true. You're re-scripting your life. You're writing down who you will be, who you really are, and then you just do it.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing all your wisdom. And I've learned a lot. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kimberly, for asking me. It's really been a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Yeah. So I have one last question before we finish.
Okay.
What's your best advice on living an incredible life?
To know that God loves you, and to know that, and to love yourself. It is so important to know that you are loved, 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 loved. I can't say loved enough. And that when you know that you are loved so much and that you were created and designed for purpose, that you can look in the mirror and say to yourself, I am loved. I am loved. I am so loved. I'm so excited. I'm loved. I'm loved. I'm loved. And you can dance around your house saying, wow, I am so loved.
Oh, thank you. That's great. All right. Well, we'll talk to you again soon, Dianne.
You take care. Thank you, Kimberly.